that curve that we generate in a closed culture system. We talked about how we can open up that culture system and get a lot more data out of it. I think you realize now that at different points of that population curve, different things are happening. Even in the exponential growth phase, we have a period of balanced growth and unbalanced growth. Associated with the balanced growth, we have primary metabolites, and associated with secondary unbalanced, we have secondary metabolites. So even in that log phase growth, the cells are not doing everything all the time. That growth phase, the exponential growth phase, represents an excellent opportunity to utilize for quantitative purposes. And I'm getting at what we call a microbiological bioassay. Sometimes it's just called bioassays. Sometimes they're called bacterial bioassays. All the same thing. But it's predicated upon the observation that that bacterial population will go into stationary growth, the next phase, when essential nutrients are utilized, toxic byproducts build up, or quorum sensing kicks in. Now, all we have to do is imagine, let's drop this down a little bit. Let's look at our culture situation. And before we deplete, somewhere down in here, before we deplete the nutrients the cell needs to grow, before we accumulate toxic byproducts, and before we have enough autoinducers produced that will start to inactivate genes and activate transcriptional factors. If there's something that was limiting that bacterial population would go into stationary phase growth sooner rather than later. This is an opportunity for a bioassay. Vitamin supplements. A $32 billion a year industry. $billion a year. And that's in spite of the fact that in the last 5 years, there's been 3 independent studies done that show that they're probably not necessary. If you're eating a balanced diet, they're not necessary. Yet, from a health standpoint, many of us take them. Well, if you've ever looked at one of these, the multivitamins, they'll have lots of different vitamins on there, and on the back of it, it'll tell you exactly how much of it's in it. Vitamin C is so much, vitamin B12 is so much. They'll probably have the microgram quantities or the international units, as well as the percentage of the minimum daily requirement, MDR. But how do you know that? How do you know when you turn that bottle over, it says there's vitamin B12 present at 60 micrograms per capsule? How do you know that that's what is over there? Take the word for it. We like to think that we can trust the pharmaceutical industry, that if there's anybody who has to have high morals and ethics, it's got to be them. But nevertheless, there is an oversight. There is a government agency that overlooks them. And I can't remember if it's the United States Department of Agriculture, strangely enough, or Food and Drug Administration. I think it's USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. But somebody determines it. They take these tablets, they'll take them 1 or 2 bottles out of every lot, and they will assay them for each of those ingredients to be certain that you're getting what they say you're getting. Now, they could do a chemical assay, but oftentimes chemical assays will just tell you how much of that chemical is present. It doesn't indicate how much of it is biologically active, and there's a difference. How much is biologically active? So that requires a bioassay. Oftentimes, vitamins are assayed utilizing a bioassay. So let's just use an example here of vitamin B12. And before we do this, we have to have what's called an auxotrope. An auxotrope is a nutritional mutant. A nutritional mutant. It must have supply to it. in the medium, vitamin B12. Many bacteria can make it on their own. So we have to be certain that the organism that we're using, our indicator organism, is a nutritional medium, and that it will not grow in the absence of vitamin B12 supplied to it in the medium. Can you see the fallacy? If it can make its own, we wouldn't have to worry about it bioassay by vitamin B12, because we would never get any. It would go into stationary growth when the whole culture was supposed to. All right. So what we do is we make up typically 4 different concentrations. One that contains 25 micrograms, no vitamin B12. 50 micrograms, no vitamin B12. 75 and 100, no concentration of vitamin B12. 4 different mediums. They're all identical with the exception they have differing amounts of vitamin B12. Then, we incubate them, and we monitor each of those for the time it takes for that bacterial population to leave exponential growth and enter the stationary phase. Near 25 micrograms, you see a very short, relatively short logarithmic growth phase, and then it begins to go to stationary. Approximately 10 minutes with 25 micrograms of vitamin B12. Everything else is still present in copious amounts, but it has depleted the 25 micrograms that we put in that known culture. It can't make it on its own, therefore it has no recourse but to cease growth and enter the stationary. The next culture, 50 micrograms, that's our second solution. The organism goes a little bit farther, maybe 20 minutes into it, and then it goes into stationary, which is what you would expect. You would expect it to grow longer. Now, it may not be exactly double this, and that's being today, but it will grow longer in the exponential phase, and then ultimately it goes into stationary phase when it uses up to 50 micrograms of vitamin B12. And so forth with 75, we'll come down to 30, and with 100, we're down to 40 minutes. So we plot these now. We plot our concentration. 10 minutes with 25 was this point right here. 20 minutes at 50 was this point. 30 minutes at 75 was this point, and this point was 100 at 75. And we draw a line. And computers will do this for you. These are computer programs. Now, you get an equation for that line. But this is a standard curve. We have a standard curve that relates the concentration of vitamin B12 that we have to generate this from our known value to the time it took to enter stationary phase growth. So now what we did is we take our basal medium over here, our medium that we have over here that didn't have any vitamin B12 in it, we added it over here. Now we're going to take one of those tablets and drop it in. The only vitamin B12 will be that which was supplied by that tablet that says it has 60 micrograms of vitamin B12. And we look to see how long does it take for that bacterial population to enter stationary phase. You see it entering right here. At this point, looks like it's this point right here, close to this point right here. That corresponds to probably that 20 minutes, 20 minutes. That corresponds to 50 micrograms. That pharmaceutical company has a problem, doesn't it? They were advertising 60 micrograms, yet our bioassay shows there's only 2. Now, normally it's going to be higher. Pharmaceutical companies will normally err on the other side. Rather than being short, they'd rather have more than what's required. The reason is that oftentimes when you sell a bottle of those vitamins, you don't know how long it's going to sit on the shelf. Even when they manufacture it, they send it out to CVS Pharmacy. They don't know how long it's going to sit in a warehouse before CVS on 86th Street in Hitch wants it, before they send it over there, and how long it sits on the shelf over there. Time is the enemy of bioactive materials. If it sits there for 2 or 3 years, it may not be. If it had exactly 60 micrograms, they might bioassay at that point and it would have active. But this is the only way that you can bioassay. This is the easiest perfect assay for these types of factors. Does that make sense? This is exactly what the United States Department of Agriculture or the Food and Drug Administration would do. They'll pull them off and they'll take their tablets and they'll crush them up and they'll dissolve them in a basal medium and they'll assay them like this.
This might be a really obvious question, but is that why they put expiration dates on there? Is that just because?
They put expiration dates so that, and that's typically for the shortest life material in there. But oftentimes, even after that expiration date, it's still biological. But yeah, it's to cover themselves. You couldn't expect them 15 years out of manufacturing for it to be active.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't have that disclaimer on there. Does that make sense? But it makes use of all the principles of our exponential growth. How it won't sustain exponential growth unless everything is there. And in this case, we utilize that one material. Now, we have to have enough goodies for everything else because we don't want anything else limiting the growth of the organism. So we have to have all the necessary glucose. We have to be certain that we've not reached the point where toxic byproducts are going to limit the growth and so forth. But that's relatively easily done. Okay. That's the first one. At some point, exponential growth will give way to stationary. Stationary phase, stationary stage, goes by a variety of different ways. How long is stationary growth? It depends. First point. It may last no more than 30 minutes. Or it may last for arguably years. It's indicated in our diagram as a short little plateau. Normally, if we want to be precise, this probably should be much longer. When you look at that, though, what would you surmise to be the relationship between the number of bacteria dying and the number of bacteria dividing? Or any bacteria dividing? Sure they are. Sure they are. There is a small proportion of that population that's still healthy enough to be dividing. And their cell division is just offsetting cellular death. They exhausted nutrients, they build up toxic byproducts, they enter stationary phase. Some cells are still dividing. In other words, division equals cell death. The number remains constant. Bible number remains constant. But with some dying, there has to be some that are still divided. All right. Stationary phase, I said it could be as short as 30 minutes. Now, normally you would see this and then it goes into the death phase or the decline phase. But there are some bacterial cells that will basically not survive stationary growth. Streptococcus pneumoniae, I mentioned that particular organism a couple of times. If I recall what it's responsible for. What type of pneumonia? Lobar, typically the lobar adult type of pneumonia, your grandparents. That particular organism, once it enters into stationary phase, it's got about 30 to 45 minutes before it begins to autolyse. It cannot tolerate those conditions of stationary phase growth, and it simply bursts. It lyses. And the autolytic enzymes that are involved that are activated during stationary growth. Other cultures, E. coli, for example, the example I gave of the other one, when I was a postdoctoral fellow, the first day I was given an E. coli culture that I was going to transfect with a plasmid that had a gene. And we did that, set that culture in the corner, and over the next 3 years, things got piled up around it and lost it. When I was ready to leave in '79, I was cleaning up the bench and I found this culture tube. It was dried out. There was very little in there at all. It had been a